Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Addicted to Gear. Today I wanted to calm everybody down because there was an article in the Washington Post recently that everyone's talking about on, everybody's panicking and thinking this is the end of the electric guitar as we know it. I don't understand what the big fuss is about, and I'd like to give you my take on the whole thing. I think, first of all, everybody's panicking for no reason. Don't panic. This happens every so often. It happened in the disco era. It happened, just before grunge came in again and things were going very commercial with music in general. And we were hearing less and less guitar recordings. The guitar hero the guitar heroes that we've grown up with were kind of becoming shunned, and it was more, electronic based music that was coming out, and that trend still continues today. But there's always going to be a place in music for electric guitar. There's just things that an electric guitar can do that you can't really emulate any other way. But it's true that over the years, the electric guitar and the influence that a guitarist has in a band has become less and less frontline. Guys like Jimmy Page and Eddie Van Halen, Eric Clapton, Slash, all these guitar icons are kind of a dying breed because, let's face it, right now you're listening to music and you rarely hear a guitar solo. It's mostly loops that you're hearing, electronica, very, very slick recordings that are so polished, with auto-tune on the voice and, everything being produced at a very, very polished level that, you don't get the rawness that you had with Led Zeppelin or the Stones, where everything was analog and people were playing music like that. But I think over time that's going to come back, because people are going to miss that kind of rawness. I mean, you can polish something to a point where it's perfect, but then it kind of becomes lifeless to me. And the guitar it's always been an instrument where, you can't reproduce it note for note every single time you play it. It's kind of like every time you play, it's different. Every time you play, you're going to get something slightly different. It's like an emotion. The emotions I have today are not going to be the same as tomorrow. But when you're listening to the new generation and the music that's being produced with drum machines and loops and whatnot, it really loses that soul and that kind of life that it once had. So when people, are saying, hey, the guitar is going to die and we're not going to be using guitars anymore and you might as well sell your collection, I'm not worried. Honestly, I'm really not worried. One thing that you have to consider about the article in the Washington Post is that they're associating popularity with sales. And to me, that's not exactly the same thing. Just because companies like Fender and Gibson are not selling as many guitars as they once were, that doesn't mean that people are still not buying guitars. As a matter of fact, I would say that it's the opposite. They're still buying very many guitars, but they're buying them used. To be honest with you, I own a pretty large guitar collection myself, and I think I've only purchased 2 guitars brand new. And all the other guitars that I've purchased have been secondhand. So, in the eyes of Fender and Gibson and other large companies, they're saying, shit, man, we're not selling as many guitars. Also, the prices of the guitars that they're selling today are skyrocketing. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I was able to get, good quality guitars like a Stratocaster, G&L, Gibson Les Paul, specifically Stratocasters. I was able to find them for $500, $600, $700 used. Nowadays, you walk into a store and you look at a Fender Standard and you're looking at over $2,000. That's ridiculous. No wonder they're not selling guitars. I mean, let's face it, a lot of millennials out there are struggling. They're not making the money they'd like to be making. They probably won't even be able to afford to buy a home. They're going to have to probably rent because it's not easy for them and they don't have throwaway money. So they're not going to walk into a store and drop $2,000 on a Stratocaster or almost $4,000 on a Gibson Les Paul. It doesn't make sense. So to me, that, you know, sales numbers and popularity, it doesn't jive. If, you know, if indeed the sales were directly related to popularity, I mean, we wouldn't see any musicians out there playing guitar. Things are tough for the guitar companies. I mean, there's a lot more guitar companies out there. They're saturated. They're trying to pump the market with new versions of the same stuff. Fender's been doing that for years. Gibson has been doing that for years. They come out with new models that are essentially the same. You know, put a signature on it and try and sell it for $10,000. It makes no sense. People are starting to smarten up. You can't fool people forever. And there's a lot of good quality guitars floating around out there used that are fantastic deals. And I own a couple of those that would never sell. So guys, don't worry about it. Honestly, I think the musicians that are out there that play guitar, you will always have guitarists out there. Guthrie Govan, a perfect example. I mean, this guy's a monster. You know, he's a virtuoso in my book, and he's right up there with Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, and all those other guys. And he just popped out of the woodwork recently. He's a monster. Now, will he gain the popularity of Taylor Swift, who was also mentioned in the article? Probably not. But I mean, look at Steve Vai. I mean, you know, how many times do you see or hear Steve Vai's music played on the radio? Never. It's just, these guys have a cult following. Musicians, guitarists seek these guys out and just, you know, eat them up. They want to hear their music, and they'll pay to go see them. Al Di Meola, one of my favorite, you know, guitarists from the 70s, 80s. This guy was a monster, and you know, how many times do you hear his stuff on the radio? Never, you know. But he's very popular. You go to his shows, and you know, his stuff sold out. Why? Because people can appreciate the talent. You know, there's a lot of guitarists like that, and Tommy Emmanuel comes to mind. This guy's a monster as well. He plays like an animal. I mean, I've never seen somebody playing acoustic guitar as well as this guy. I've seen him twice already in person, and both times I went home and I wanted to burn my guitars because I was so like discouraged that I would never actually be able to play like him. But this guy's amazing. He really is amazing. And again, he's hit the sweet spot, the spotlight just recently. So these guys are out there. There's new musicians, specifically new virtuoso guitarists that are coming out every day. It's just that they're not getting airtime on the radio because what sells today is Lady Gaga. It's going to be Taylor Swift. It's going to be all the new, the new guys. And the radio stations are not going to really go for the stuff that's not easy to sell. And that's easy to sell. So again, don't worry about guitars disappearing. They're not going to disappear at all. I would encourage anybody who has a collection to keep on collecting. If you're interested in playing guitar, pick up that guitar and learn how to play, because it's never going to disappear. There's just some stuff that you can do on the guitar that you can't do on any other instrument. You're bending the notes like that. You can't bend notes on a piano, and you can just vibrate that string and make someone cry if you play it properly. And it has so much emotion as an instrument that I wouldn't hesitate to have any of my kids or my friends' kids pick up the guitar as a hobby. And it's just one of those things where you're not necessarily going to be in the spotlight, and if you're okay with that, then it's fine. I mean, I get plenty of enjoyment playing my guitar. I don't expect to be in the spotlight at all. But the time that I spend playing with my band is just a great time that I spend with good quality musicians. We have a great time playing together, blow off some steam, and no money in the world can replace that. I mean, it's just one of those things that I enjoy, and human beings are connecting through music. I'm using my instrument, guitar in this case, to connect with my friends when I'm playing, and it's just a glorious thing, so just because the companies out there are panicking, that doesn't mean that guitars or guitarists are going to disappear. So take it easy, chill out, play your guitar, and stay calm. That was it. That was my rant for today. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents. If you agree or if you don't disagree, hey, put your comments below. I'm happy to discuss this further with you guys, but I think the majority of you guys out there will agree with me. So in the meantime, guys, stay tuned to my site. Thank you for watching, and keep on rocking.